Hi, I'm Roger Drummer, co-owner and formulator of HerbWorks.com, and I want to talk about protecting your brain. I read an article today in the Telegraph that talked about how dementia has become the #1 killer in Britain. They had over 70,000 deaths last year from dementia, and they have over 850,000 people living with it in Great Britain. Think about that. That's an astounding number of people considering it's a small country with a population of about 65 million. So it's become the #1 killer. Here in America, it's still rated #6, but we've had an increase of almost 90% since the year 2000. So it's obvious that people are suffering from memory loss and the basic disorders that they lump together that they call dementia and Alzheimer's. Basically, you've lost not only your memory, but your thinking speed, your mental agility. You have language problems, forgetfulness, inability to understand information. So all these things are lumped together basically as a degenerative brain disorder. And most of it used to be classified, and I like to talk about it as premature aging of the brain, because if you're experiencing this, it's more than likely premature. It's happening way before its time, and it's usually triggered by something. Now, this is the thing about dementia and memory loss you have to understand, and especially in this country, but I'm sure it's the same way all over the world, is that everybody's waiting on science to come up with a chemical, a pill, to help you with this condition. And in my opinion, it's probably never going to happen. You're experiencing a huge, very wide spectrum of issues with your brain, and you can't depend on one pill to actually fix that. What we do know is that nutrition plays a huge role. And by nutrition, what I mean is deficiency of certain nutrients plays a huge role in your brain function. I've talked about this for over a decade, how I felt that a huge component of Alzheimer's has always been starvation of the brain. And starvation anywhere in your system will take decades to show up. You can function somewhat normally and put up with little things that are off in your system for 20 to 30 years. But with brain function, when it catches up with you, it's almost like falling off a cliff. And in general, there's no way to get back up. So you have to start paying attention to it now. We know that starvation of the brain plays a huge role. How do you avoid that? You make sure that you're getting certain supplements that feed your brain, that your nervous system needs to stay healthy on a daily basis, and you incorporate it into your diet right now. You don't wait for memory issues to show up. You incorporate it into your diet right now. And so there's just some basic issues that you can look at in your daily life right now to work on your health problems no matter what age you are, and start to implement these now, and you'll be healthier. Not only just talking about your brain function and your memory, but your entire life will change because you're going to be much more vital and alive anyway. And probably the #1 thing you can do as far as your diet is balance your blood sugar. I talk about this a lot, and I'm going to talk about it till the day I die, because you have to balance your blood sugar. People hate going through that effort, but believe me, almost every chronic degenerative disease starts with elevated blood sugar, and it's accelerated not only in the severity of your problem, but how quick you're going to get it is all dependent on how high your blood sugar is. It throws your entire system out of balance. Your whole body starts to divert all its healing energy to dealing with your blood sugar. And you know, they've tried to lump in dementia and Alzheimer's as being called diabetes 3. Now, why is that? It's because your brain cells, like almost the whole rest of your body, runs exclusively on sugar. And so if your brain becomes insulin resistant, just like the rest of you, then it's not going to get proper energy to your brain cells and you're going to be in a fog. You're not going to be able to think clearly. So you have to start regulating your sugar. One of the other issues that go right along with regulating your sugar, and it's just as important, and if you do this, you'll find it easier to regulate your sugar, and that is lower your stress. Stress hormone causes a certain type of inflammation in the hippocampus area of your brain, which attracts all the other chemicals that make it up into your brain. And so it's almost like a magnifier of the amount of toxicity and damage to the hippocampus of your brain. So having elevated cortisol, which is too much stress hormone, really primes your brain for damage. And then when you add the elevated sugar, then you're just kind of adding gasoline to the fire. And so you have to deal with the stress. And even during stress, when you have a stress response, your body floods yourself with excessive sugar because it thinks you're going to be in a fight or you're going to run away and you need that extra energy, and your body locks into it and it doesn't secrete enough insulin to maybe balance that out until you relax. So you have to learn to relax. You have to take, in my opinion, a great herbal program to deal with that. You know, if you followed my work at HerbWorks.com, you know that I specialize in stress and I specialize in adaptogenic herbs. Now, why is that? Because I figured out a decade ago that if I wanted to have the biggest impact on people's lives, I had to teach them about stress, because stress is the accelerator to all chronic disease. And when you can lower your stress hormone, but even go beyond that, open up your mind, your brain, to a different level of energy and create what I call brain coherence, which means your entire brain is communicating with all the different areas of your brain. You're not locked down into one area, which is the stress response. So you're opening up not only the circulation, but the communication in your entire brain. And so once you do that, you lower the amount of inflammation in your system, you lower the amount of cortisol, which is causing that, and you put your body in a position to where it's actually using nutrients differently. This is something hardly anybody talks about, but when you're highly stressed, your body doesn't actually absorb nutrition. Your digestion's completely off. Even the pathways into your cells by which you use it are disrupted by your level of stress. The number one thing you have to realize about a stressed out person and how your cells respond to that, and someone who's relaxed, is that it is impossible, it is physically impossible for your body to repair anything when you're in a stress response. So when you're stressed, your body does not have the function of building and repairing. So if you're stressed 24 hours a day, think about what that does to your system. It's one of the most debilitating things that you could ever do to your system, is to get locked into chronic stress and not do anything about it. It's great to meditate, it's great to do all these relaxation techniques, but in my opinion, once your physical body gets locked into that, you have to take adaptogenic herbs. I made my formula Tianqi and my formula Inner Peace strictly for helping people get over their stress, to reduce their stress hormone, and to change their brain energetics. Tianqi goes a little bit farther and deals with the fact that I look at memory loss as being premature aging of the brain, and I put a great load of supplements in that herbal product to make it an energy brain drink. And so it has most of the important nutrients you need to offset aging of the brain: B6, folic acid, methylcobalamin, B12. And I have a special form of folic acid called methylfolate, which is the type that anybody who takes this can actually use. Now, again, even though that's a great supplement for your stress and for your brain, it doesn't contain everything you need to keep your brain healthy. And why is that? It's because it doesn't have omega-3 fatty acids, which are almost impossible to put in a drink. It doesn't contain healthy fats. If you can change your diet around to having great healthy fats like walnuts and fish and olive oil and avocados and all these different things that are essential for your body to function properly, they help your brain tremendously, and they help regulate your blood sugar. And by eating these foods, you don't really have room for junk food, and you don't have room for all the things that are pro-inflammatory. Fried oils, a lot of polyunsaturated oils, junk food. All these different things kind of fall by the wayside when you actually give your brain and body what it needs and start to regulate your blood sugar. You have to exercise a little bit. Just getting out and walking for 30 minutes is great for your brain. It all has an effect of not only, again, lowering and regulating blood sugar, but it also starts to produce certain chemicals in your brain that are important to keep it young, to actually protect it, and it even starts to produce chemicals that are their own anti-inflammatories. So you have to exercise a little bit, lift some weights, get out and walk, ride a bike, do something every day that you enjoy. Get out and do something. It's the best thing for your brain. Another thing you have to do is balance your hormones. Find out if your estrogen is good. What's your testosterone levels? And balance that out, because it's not just your sex life and your menstrual cycle that depends on hormones. It's your brain, it's your heart. Everything is dependent on these same chemicals that your body produces, and you have to either supplement, at least find out what your levels are, and then you can make the choice to supplement, to do something to balance that out or build it up. One of the other things I'd like you to do is make sure you sleep at least 7 to 8 hours a night. It's one of the ways your brain actually washes itself, it detoxifies, and it has so many different effects. It produces human growth hormone if you fall into a really deep sleep in your first 2 hours. So all these things you're going to be missing out on if you're not regularly getting sleep. And one of the last things I want to talk about is that you have to pay attention to your cholesterol levels. Now, I'm not one of those people that think you have to really lower your cholesterol. In fact, some of the latest research shows that if your cholesterol is below 150, which is where most doctors love to have you by giving you drugs to lower it, you're basically putting in your brain in a high risk for atrophy. I don't know about you, but I don't want my brain to be experiencing atrophy, which again is one of the things that happens when you're deficient long-term in methylfolate and methylcobalamin, brain atrophy. You have to have those nutrients for a healthy nervous system and neurons in your brain. So if you're someone who has cholesterol that's way out of balance, start to do something about it with your diet. If you paid attention to the first thing I told you, regulating sugar, more than likely your cholesterol will just drop to a healthy level. If you pay attention to eating healthy fats and not eating sugar at the same time, you'll probably take a major step in balancing your own hormones. One of the funniest things, I think this is funny, but one of the great things that happened to me was when I went on a ketogenic diet, which includes a lot of fat from coconut, MCT oil, avocados, nuts. I eat a lot of walnuts, a lot of pecans, raw almonds, macadamia nuts, all these different things. But what happened is that I had a 400-point increase in my testosterone. Think about that, 400 points. And so that was quite amazing to me. And why did it happen? Because your body needs cholesterol to make hormones. So look at your diet. If your hormones are really off, look at the amount of beneficial fats you have in your diet. Look at how you can change that. Lower your sugar at the same time. And when you do those two things, you're going to have an impact on all these different points that I brought up today. Even your stress will improve by lowering the amount of sugar in your diet. And the other great thing about working on your stress, though, is that once you become relaxed, you not only start to lower the amount of blood sugar your body's just pumping out, but you actually have an influence on your liver function, which is involved in regulating sugar. You have an influence on your kidney adrenal, because adaptogenic herbs and that help with stress also strengthen your kidney adrenal energy, and that's involved in regulating blood sugar. You open up your brain energetically to be in a different position, which allows you to not get as stressed and not fall into that deep, really stressed out feeling, because your brain's in a different set of energy. You're being presented to a stressful situation differently than you normally would, and so your mind is more open. You see the bigger picture. You don't get as stressed out. But believe me, adaptogenic herbs and using them, that doesn't mean that you'll never get stressed out. What it means is you'll have a proper stress response. You'll respond, you'll take care of it, and then your body will instantly go back into the mode of repair. And again, remember, your body cannot repair or fix anything if you're stressed. It just won't happen. So once you have the herbs in your system, or you're working every day on some meditation, relaxation techniques, you're taking some adaptogenic herbs like inner peace or Tian Chi, your body learns how to regulate itself, move in and out of stress easily, so your life becomes more of a flow, and your life becomes more something that you participate in instead of something that you're just reacting to. And that's really what we all want to do. We want to have a life that we participate in and not just react to.